If public education is to survive and thrive in Los Angeles, it's time for us to call the question on why our schools are being starved. It is simply not acceptable that California, as the 5th largest economy in the world, stands at 46th among the states in per-pupil funding. It is simply not acceptable that the 2nd largest school district in the country, a crucial civic institution, locally and nationally, has the highest class sizes in the country. California is the richest state in the nation, and the LA area has more millionaires and billionaires than any other in the country. There is an undeniable truth. The money is here to fund our schools.
That's right.
Billionaires and corporations are keeping that money from us, and politicians are helping them do this. That is an undeniable truth that we are going to deal with this year. It is time to call the question on that cynical arrangement. Last year at this conference, I said we would need to be prepared to make the crisis that our students face every day into a crisis for leaders in LA and California by February of 2018. And that building to this 2018 compression point must involve us being ready to strike if we need to. With our contract having expired in June, our health benefits expiring in December, Donald Trump in the White House, and an LA school board having been bought by billionaires, I am more convinced than ever of this path. And I am more inspired than ever by our campaign for the schools LA students deserve. Our union is the strongest it's been in years. From the removal of John Daisy in 2014, to the big contract victory in 2015 that we were all involved in, to the Build the Future, Fund the Fight initiative in 2016. Now look at the events over the last year. We led the way, as you saw in the video, to the ballot box victories of Props 55 and 58. As we did this, we increased our political action fund pace by 44% through hundreds of new member contributions, and we're going to need to do that more. We did this together, and we're stronger because of it. With community partners, we launched the Reclaim Our Schools LA Coalition. In June 2017, this community coalition was the driving force behind a successful school board resolution that commits LAUSD to invest in the community school model. These are community-led public schools with broad curriculum, parent engagement, positive behavior support programs that are well-staffed, and wraparound services for families. We did that together, and we're stronger because of it. Last year, the district offered far more schools to charters for co-location. Yet, we drove the number of actual resulting co-locations down. Of the 23 school communities that built high-profile pushback campaigns, 19 of them, over 80%, successfully stopped co-locations. Out of these struggles, new parent leaders flowed into our parent leaderships. We did that together, and we're stronger because of it. We launched rounds 1 and 2 of the We Are Public Schools media campaign, featuring our everyday heroes, like people in this room, on billboards, digital ads, bus benches, and more. We did that together, and we're stronger because of it. With local teacher unions across the state, and we've got folks from San Francisco, Richmond, and San Diego with us this weekend, we formed an unprecedented California Alliance for Community Schools. On May 12th, the Alliance organized actions across the state in support of legislation that would bring common sense regulations to charter schools. We are doing this together, and we're stronger because of it. We have strengthened contract enforcement and member representation. In 2014, when I came into this office, there were 3,300 unresolved grievances, jamming and slowing the system, sucking away our staff's time and leading members to lose faith in the union. That 3,300 is now down to 1,400 after years of our staff and members working with members and the district to productively resolve cases, and clearing other cases because members were retired or for other reasons. We now have a grievance and representation coordinator to confront the district on trends in principals' behavior and unreasonable district practices. We have increased organizing to address site issues, and now we are part of the Group Legal Services Program, which means that members who are faced with reassignment or threats to their credentials get thousands more dollars in legal support than they did previously. We did this together, and we're stronger because of it. Last year, we organized successful school site campaigns to remove bad principals. We're developing more tools to help organize around this issue when it is necessary this year. We are doing this together, and we are stronger because of it. Educators at the Alliance charter chain, who are bravely fighting to unionize, came to those UTLA workshops that you saw in the video on immigrant rights and successfully organized to pressure the Alliance management to make their campuses safe havens for immigrants. Simultaneously, our UTLA-represented charter educators at other schools won contracts that cut against the race to the bottom, lifting standards in salary, health benefits, and more. We did that together, and we're stronger because of it. When the mayor of Huntington Park in South Area, a UTLA member, and the HP City Council voted to put a moratorium on charters for common sense, urban planning, and economic development reasons, they became the target of the California Charter Schools Association, CCSA. We supported the council in elections against mounds of CCSA money, and the council members supporting the moratorium won those elections. We have been honored to be a part of that effort and to be involved with the NAACP, as that organization has called for a charter moratorium and has just this week put out a new report reaffirming its position. We did this together, and we are stronger because of it. And we are shaping the debate in the 2018 state elections. Antonio Villaraigosa's that was appropriate. Antonio Villaraigosa's longtime ally, Marshall Tuck, is running again for State Superintendent of Public Instruction. Assemblymember Tony Thurmond is running against Tuck and is a consistent and powerful voice in support of community schools. We are thrilled that Thurmond is here for our PACE reception tomorrow. Please come out and meet him. As you know, Antonio Villaraigosa is running for governor. We've been meeting with other gubernatorial candidates, John Chung and Gavin Newsom. Both Chung and Newsom are bringing our issues to the campaign trail. Chung said the following in March to a charter school audience. John Chung said, quote, "Charter schools cannot be a drain on the finances or the talents of the school district. They must be held accountable to the same standards as all public schools. They must have a governance structure that is transparent and answerable to local voters. They must be open to collective bargaining. It is particularly painful to read of the squandering of scarce education dollars on overinflated salaries, luxurious meals, and limousines. That must stop immediately." End of quote. Gavin Newsom said the following in May at the California Democratic Party convention. Quote, "We'll create full-service community schools, engaging entire communities in our children's future, open to everyone, all day, every day. Wellness centers in schools to deal with not only physical health needs, but adolescent mental health needs. Arts education for every child in every classroom, K through 12. After-school programs, true public partnerships, an ethic of encouragement, an ethic of support, and unlike Betsy DeVos, we will attract teachers, not attack teachers." End of quote. You can see from Chung and Newsom's comments that our collective work makes an impact statewide, and we are stronger because of it. Thank you very much for your work. But let's be clear. Let's be clear. Amidst steps forward that we had this year, we took some serious losses. Donald Trump winning the presidency was a devastating blow for all progressive movements. The attacks on immigrants, communities of color, and our sisters and brothers in the LGBTQ community. The disrespect of women, the assault on decades of environmental protections, massive proposed federal cuts to education, and proposed federal increases to vouchers and charters. And it is certain that unions will lose fair share and be undermined significantly nationwide. U.S. Congresswoman Maxine Waters has been leading the fight against Trump and DeVos's agenda, and we're thrilled that she will also be with us tomorrow at our PACE reception. Please come out and see her. Losing the LA school board races in May was a serious, serious blow. We collectively poured our souls into the races for Steve Zimmer and Imelda Padilla. We had more member volunteers than ever before. We raised more money than ever before. We organized support from communities and unions more than ever before. But we couldn't overcome the $13 million spent against us more than ever before in United States history in a school board race. And while we made reasonable strategic decisions throughout the campaign, in a race in which we were severely outspent, every resource allocation we made meant we couldn't make it somewhere else, with all the downstream effects of that. Sending a mailer at one time meant we couldn't do it at another time. Doing a run of TV ads at one time meant we couldn't do it at another time. We're learning from that experience, looking reflectively at every aspect of that campaign, and three things are already very, very clear. First, the billionaires buying the school board races was the second punch in their counterattack. The first punch was spending $27 million to win 23 out of 26 state legislative races across California in November 2016. They have counterattacked aggressively because they needed to respond to a series of our victories. In 2014, we got rid of their superintendent, John Daisy. We defeated their statewide superintendent candidate, Marshall Tuck. In 2015, we won a great contract and an extension of health benefits, and we defeated two of their most prized school board candidates. In 2016, we commissioned an economic impact report on charter growth that had an impact across the state and nation. And we organized to turn their Broad Walmart 50% charter plan into a sputtering mess. This is a multi-year war. Our opponents are going to respond to losses like that. In 2016 and 2017, they responded in the way they know best, using unlimited money. Second, the billionaire-backed candidates for school board, Nick Melvoin and Kelly Gonez, did not win on a campaign message to massively expand unregulated charter growth. Even the billionaires know that we have moved that narrative and that people prefer fully funded neighborhood public schools over unregulated privatization schemes. And third, the billionaires' path to victory was unapologetically to suppress the vote among working class people and to unapologetically appeal to the hyper-wealthy, many of whom do not have children in LAUSD public schools. Torrents of negative attacks on Zimmer depressed the working class vote, while Nick Melvoin got his votes through high turnout and large margins in the wealthiest precincts in LA County, some of the wealthiest precincts in the entire United States. Yet another reminder that the war over public schools is a class war. And the billionaires continue. After Eli Broad and Reed Hastings bought the school board, Broad is now jumping over that school board entirely in his latest scheme. He is behind Assembly Bill 1217, which he has gone straight to the most powerful people in Sacramento to move forward. This would open the first ever state-run school that is not technically a charter, but operates like a charter. It is literally a billionaire, one-school state carve-out for a privately run but publicly funded school with serious equity and access issues. By going straight to the state, and by the way, the only other state schools that are run directly by the state are for the deaf and blind, and now we've got Eli Broad. By going straight to the state, it creates yet another unchecked path to starve our public schools. We are vigorously fighting AB 1217. The punchline is this: we can exert power in school board races, and we can exert power in Sacramento. But our most fundamental response to the May school board losses is to double down on our ultimate source of power, going deep with organizing at our schools and in our communities. And so we enter this year. We know we're under attack. We hear the well-funded media drumbeat, attacking health benefits, amplified by Broad and Walmart's Cal Matters partnership with the LA Times. Early signs at the bargaining table are that the district is not going to move without serious pressure. LAUSD's response to our salary demand of a 7% ongoing pay increase retroactive to July 1st, 2016 was a 2% one-time bonus. That's an insult. And while it's good that teachers will now be able to consider running for school board because those positions will be paid more than a starting teacher's salary. While that is good, it is an even bigger insult that the board received a 174% increase in pay in the same month that the district offered its educators a 2% one-time bonus. LAUSD has not moved an inch on our proposals on class size, school climate, and student discipline, or on decision-making for parents and educators in site budgets. Under these circumstances, we must use our unique knowledge to bring into full relief the crisis that has existed for decades in our schools, often in silence. And we need to bring that crisis out loudly. If we don't, Los Angeles will become an almost entirely privatized, some students, not all students landscape, like New Orleans, Washington, D.C., or Detroit. And the survival of public education will be at risk. Sisters and brothers, it is time to go on the offense, and the circumstances are right to do that. Our full contract and health benefits are being negotiated at the same time. That doesn't happen very often, and our members will be engaged. All LAUSD workers in all LAUSD unions are bargaining their contracts and health benefits right now. We have built internal organizational strength over the last 3 years. We are stronger than we've been in years in the community. We are coordinating statewide with locals and advocacy organizations. All eyes are on public education in the 2018 governor and state superintendent's races. There is increasing skepticism of the billionaire agenda nationally. All the while, if state per-pupil funding goes unaddressed, and LAUSD continues to lose upwards of $600 million per year to unregulated charter growth, every round of bargaining in the future is going to get tougher and tougher and tougher. The time is right, the time is now to go on offense. Our Schools LA Students Deserve campaign, run jointly with parent, community, and youth allies, is our vehicle. We must shake everything we can out of the district financially to meet our priorities. This means going after LAUSD's unrestricted reserve, which is one of the highest among urban districts in California. It means targeting other district money, which our research department is identifying to better serve our students. We must do this with a recognition that to make sustainable progress on the big ticket items that our students and members deserve, it is imperative that California move up from 46th place among states in funding. The demands of the Schools LA Students Deserve campaign must be unapologetic about what our students need. We have already put proposals across the table in bargaining to this end, with more to come. Our bargaining team has been meeting over the summer, relentlessly and very well. We've got demands around salaries and benefits that attract and retain excellent educators, reduced class sizes across the board, additional health and human services personnel, increased investment in bilingual and dual language programs and special education supports, reduction in special education caseloads, investment in community schools model that can be replicated across the district, accountability standards for all charter schools, increases in teacher discretion over testing, and reductions in overall testing and paperwork mandates. Strengthened professional rights and stability for educators, investment in staffing and practices to improve school climate and address student discipline, increased accountability for administrators regarding student discipline, expanded decision-making for educators and parents over school budgets and school programs. And I'll tell you this on the side for my mistake that I made earlier tonight. Cynthia Matthews not only is on the board of directors, she's also the South Area representative on the bargaining team. And for the people in that room, in that bargaining session, when the district came with their folks to so-called respond to our student discipline and school climate proposals, and they said, well, we don't really get that many reports of problems. To see Cynthia Matthews and the other bargaining team members break down exactly what was happening at schools, that is exactly why we have classroom educators at the bargaining table. Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you to the entire bargaining team. These demands that I went over are bold and visionary, but we must do more. Our students, schools, the stability of families, student attendance patterns, enrollment, attraction to LAUSD schools, and so much more depend on a variety of additional factors. We must use the unique moment of our contract and the public nature of our campaign to leverage additional community demands that help our students and schools. Many across the country call this strategy bargaining for the common good. We are in discussions with civil rights, immigrant rights, and community organizing groups on how exactly we engage this opportunity. What would you all think of this? What would you think of a demand that the district remove all unused bungalows from campuses? The district would certainly say, well, we don't think that's within the legal scope of bargaining, and we would say, okay, we understand that's what you think, let's move forward in discussing that issue. What would you think of developing green spaces and natural spaces on every single campus in the LA Unified School District? How about forcing the district to partner with UTLA and housing advocacy groups to leverage the construction of more affordable housing, something that has been called an emergency, a crisis in Los Angeles and California? A recent study came out saying 19% of community college students in Los Angeles had been homeless sometime in the previous 5 years. Those are our students. Those are our students. What would you think of creating a student deportation defense fund within the district to assist families that need help against ICE raids? How about the demand that the district be required in November, when they first have the list of schools that they think might be co-located with charters, if they were required to have a parent community meeting in November to get that organizing ball rolling sooner? While the district may claim these are issues outside the scope of bargaining, these demands are righteous, they're winnable, they'd make a difference for our students and our schools, and they can be the foundation for new coalitions. And let's be really clear here, folks. A decade ago, UTLA tried to go it alone in a lot of fights without substantial coalitions with the community. In the fight against RIFs, in the fight against public school choice, in the fight against value added. We took a lot of losses in that time for a lot of reasons. It wasn't only because of the lack of coalition building, but that was a key reason. We are not going to do that again. We are going to build coalitions with the families of the students that we serve. Increasing school funding must be one of these community demands. What is taking shape in discussions with community organizations is a call for 20 by 20. We need LA schools to be funded at $20,000 per pupil by the year 2020, 20 by 20. Jumping from 11,000 to 20,000 is aggressive for sure, but it sure is not crazy. It exists in the real world. Several other states, far poorer than California, are already in the $20,000 per student range. Remember what I said earlier. The money is here. The billionaires and corporations are keeping the money from our schools, and politicians are helping them do that. Eli Broad and Reed Hastings are engaged in education issues, clearly. They've dropped millions into elections and charter schools. Yet Broad has advocated against progressive taxation that would increase his taxes and put more money under public control to be used for all students. Lots of billionaires take the same position Eli Broad does. We need to force politicians to make a public choice. Nick Melvoin, Kelly Gonez, Ref Rodriguez, and Monica Garcia have all received the billionaires' money in running for school board. They are now responsible for all students in the district. We have a very common sense demand for those 4 school board members. Get your billionaire patrons to support an effort to increase taxes on the rich. We're not going to get to 20 by 20 through one method. There will need to be several funding sources. We're working with community organizations to define what these are, but there are already some promising pathways. Number 1, we need to reprogram as much as we can out of the LAUSD budget to go towards student needs. Number 2, UTLA is already deeply involved in the Make It Fair initiative to increase commercial property taxes on the wealthiest commercial property owners. Number 3, we're exploring an LA County millionaires tax. Number 4, we are building national networks to demand of the federal government that it deal with one of the greatest shames in national policy. IDEA became federal law in the 1970s, righteously ensuring that special education students be served by school districts. However, for 4 decades, IDEA has been an unfunded federal mandate that impacts every single district across this country. $1 billion out of LAUSD's $6.5 billion budget goes to covering the unfunded federal mandate to educate our special education students. We need those students supported. They deserve every cent. But the federal government's shameful underfunding of its own special education mandate cripples districts and puts districts in the untenable position of funding one group of students at the expense of others. We are going to fight for the funding all of our students deserve. While 20 by 20 does not align on the calendar perfectly with our February 2018 compression point, using the next 6 months to push 20 by 20 onto the public stage and organize support behind it will force elected officials all over the city, county, state, and nation to consider how to intervene in a 2018 LA public school crisis or strike if the district forces us in that direction. When all is said and done, the 4 messages of the Schools LA Students Deserve campaign are simple. Support our students. Safe, high-quality schools are a right for all. Empower our communities. Schools are anchors of the community. Defend the teaching profession. Educators are everyday heroes we must protect against attacks. Fund the future. In the second largest district in the nation, in the richest state in the country, and the fifth largest economy in the world, we should not be 46th among states in school funding and starve for resources in our district schools. The money is here for our students. Let's go get it. And let's be clear. 20 by 20 is a struggle for revenue, and it's a struggle for survival, for sure. But 20 by 20 is also a racial justice struggle. In one of the starkest examples of institutional racism, California has allowed itself to fall from the top of per-pupil funding among the states to the bottom, as the proportion of students of color in public schools has increased. This is reprehensible, and we are going to fight it. In escalating the Schools LA Students Deserve campaign, we build on work we have already done. We have done this. In our 2014-15 contract campaign, you were all leaders in that. We escalated pressure on the district, which led to the 10% raise and multiple contract victories. We need to do the same thing now. Escalating pressure not only on the district, but also elected officials and opinion leaders across the state through Red Shirt Tuesdays, parent leafleting, school site picketing, regional rallies, faculty meeting boycotts, and huge actions like Stand at Grand. How many of you were at Stand at Grand? How many of you did not miss faculty meetings when you boycotted them? I didn't mean miss like, well, you know what I meant. You know what I meant. There was on a radio program during the faculty meeting boycotts, when we had like 600 schools doing these boycotts, a commentator, I was on opposite someone from the district, and the commentator asked me, Mr. Caputo-Pearl, what do the students think of their teachers missing faculty meetings? And I said, well, to tell you the truth, I don't think students really care that much whether their teachers are in faculty meetings. If you find a student who is worried about whether you miss a faculty meeting, please let me know. I would like to hear that perspective. Through all of that escalation, we will attempt to reach an agreement at the bargaining table with LAUSD and at other tables regarding our broader community demands. But we need to be ready to strike if we have to. Most contract campaigns end in agreements before there is a need to strike. But the most successful contract campaigns, no matter how they end, plan for the possibility of a strike from the beginning, and that's what we're doing. This weekend is crucial. In the first month of school, we're tailoring the things that we are asking you to do. We know it's a busy time, but we're going to need you, our great chapter leaders, focused on three things. Number one, using the checklist that you're going to get in Core Training 1 tomorrow to get your site ready regarding contract enforcement. Number two, map your school and form a contract action team using what is discussed in Core Training 2. That's building up people who are going to help you. Number three, hold a chapter meeting on the UTLA strategic plan. The contract action teams, or CATs, are the lifeblood of this campaign. They are the teams that help us reach all 33,000 members about campaign developments. And contract action teams are crucial in taking on school site issues. When I was a chapter chair at Crenshaw High School, we used a cat-like structure organized by building floors and sets of bungalows to engage every educator on whether they would be willing to walk out on the principal when he went overtime at a faculty meeting. After some organizing, the answer across all parts of the facility was a resounding yes. At the next meeting, we walked out at the appropriate time, and the principal never went over on time again. Doing mobilizing like that, whether it is around a school site issue or around our contract, doing mobilizing like that must be preceded by doing the organizing of getting an effective CAT team together. Sisters and brothers, I'm going to end with this. What the billionaires, the district, and elected officials who want to hide from the big questions of the day, what they fear most is our collective action. They fear a school-by-school, tightly organized, connected to the community union that will do escalating actions and that indeed has the capacity to strike with community support if forced to. They have a related fear, that we begin to control the narrative by going on offense. That is what other movements have done. Only a few years ago, it seemed impossible to win a $15 minimum wage, but Fight for 15 captured the imagination of the country. Only some years back, any step forward in humane immigration policy seemed far away. But the dreamers controlled that narrative, and important steps forward were taken. Only some years back, legalizing gay marriage seemed far off, but the concept of love is love is love is love captured a generation. These movements were smart, and they went on offense. But they were also based on just what is plain right on a very human level. Sisters and brothers, we are just plain right. We can capture the imagination of the city and the state. When I taught in Compton in 1990, did my third grade student Sergio deserve a high-functioning special education program? Of course he did. When I taught at Muir Middle School in 1997 in LAUSD, did my student Garrett deserve more than the partial attention he got from a teacher in a room of 47 students? Of course he did. When I taught at Crenshaw High School in the 2000s, did my student Fabiola deserve a reliable green space on campus, a school that exuded calmness? Of course she did. When I taught at Crenshaw, did my coworker Meredith, a legendary math teacher, beloved by generations of Crenshaw families, did she deserve fair health benefits as a teacher and as a retiree? Of course she did. Does the money exist in California and in Los Angeles to take care of all of our students, to respect all of our educators, to win 20 by 20, to win the schools LA students deserve? Of course it does. Let's organize. Let's go get it. Let's go out there, organize, fight. You are wonderful chapter leaders. Thank you for everything that you do. Let's keep on moving forward together for the schools LA students deserve.